Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Good evening to our developer friends who are joining us in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. My name is Brian Francis. Welcome to the GDC Twitch channel. We are here today checking out a wonderful game. I am obsessed with it. Hopefully you're obsessed with it too. It's called Loop Hero. I'm so excited to have two wonderful guests who are in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. First off, we have Alexander Vatazarian, aka Flinlaw, and Alexander Gorslovets, aka Blinch. Since both of their first names are Alexander, we're going to call them Flinlaw and Blinch today. They're the developers from Four Quarter Team who brought us Loop Hero. Flinlaw and Blinch, would you guys please introduce yourselves?
Hello.
You are on the camera, so you go first.
Okay. I'm Lynch. I'm composer and sound designer, partly game designer of Loop Hero. And hello. I don't know what to say.
And I'm Alexander. I'm programmer and Finlal. I'm programmer and artist. Did some of that and some of that.
It's so nice to have you guys on the channel. As I said, before we started talking, I am so excited about this game. It is so much fun. I start playing it and then 90 minutes go by and I just don't remember how anything, I just don't remember how time works anymore. You all might hear some noises from my machine. I'm switching between two machines, so making some Windows notification beeps. Sorry about that. That's just trying to manage this whole system by myself. So Loop Hero, as you can see, we're playing it right now. Let me know in chat if there's any issues with audio or video. This is a game where your adventurer just sort of goes on a loop and you build the environment in which they go with the loop on. That's a very poor way to explain it. There's a lot of neat backstory, game design going on. To me, I find this game incredibly compelling. It's incredibly, I don't like the word addicting, but it's the shortest word to explain what, addiction's obviously a big serious thing, but it's so cool. It's a neat game. So Flinlaw and Blinch, I'm going to be asking you questions. If you are watching in Twitch chat, please feel free to ask your own questions. I will grab them. I've got a whole monitor set up here so I can read chat and answer your questions. And yeah, whatever you've got for the devs, we want to hear it. So to get started, let's just lay some groundwork. Let's go to the beginning of the game of development for Loop Hero. Where did the idea for Loop Hero come from, and how did it change from prototyping the game to finishing the game?
It comes from pretty old conversation with our main artist and main game designer, Dmitry Karimov, aka Deceiver. And we're just talking with him about zero-player game genre, where you not directly control your hero and not actually control game itself. But it's come from this conversation. Dmitry just was talking about his idea about little hero who walk in the circle road, and player must just build some tiles around the road and try to balance with how it's difficult and how main hero getting stronger with monster and battles on this road. So it was not for, we will not jump in right after it. We just, okay, interesting idea, and forgot about it. Yeah, then we joined Ludum there 2045. Yeah, no, I mean, it was October 2018.
Sorry.
Yeah, and 2019, and it was Ludum them about start with nothing, and we have not really good idea for this, but then we remember about that idea about the little hero who just walking in circles, and we're like, okay, it's pretty much he start with nothing. Let's try something, and yeah, that's where it's come from. But
it's just where it came from. Deceiver always says that it was like a mental training for him to come up with mechanics that will allow zero-player game to be engaging, because he just likes to think about stuff like that, and also he likes clickers.
It does feel kind of like a clicker game. What changed, just to sort of repeat the second half of my question, what changed in making Loop Hero from those first ideas? What were some of the biggest changes the game went through as you worked on it and finished it?
Core idea is pretty like it is right now. It's about the same little hero who just walk in circle, but but then we making it complex and add a lot of things like camp building, storytelling, tiles synergy when it transformed by
The
each other.
transformation of tiles.
Yeah, and perk system and many others. So core idea is not changed too much, but we are adding a lot of new things.
We can talk a little bit more, like you said, this is a game where the player doesn't control the combat, they don't control the hero. So there's kind of this automatic combat system that you can see on screen right now. I was worried when I first saw it that it might, I don't know, like, you know, we think of games, we think of combat games, we think, oh, like, combat has to be fun, and the game playing itself for you doesn't automatically seem fun at first when you first see it. The idea might not be, I guess. What do you think is fun about it? Because it's very strange to be sitting here, you know, we're watching the game right now, and I'm looking back at what I was playing a few days ago, and it's still compelling to just watch the automatic little fights play out, you know, even though it's just kind of numbers. I know in my head it's just numbers sort of firing off, and I have no control over it, but it's there. It's compelling. What do you think works about that?
You not control the button in the game, but you control everything else on the screen. You set up your hero build, like builds, inventory, perks, some additional stuff from camp, and it's like you set up this mechanism and just watching how it will work. And it's pretty addictive thing. And sometimes it works, sometimes it's not. You can't say how your current action will affect in the long distance. It's really interesting to see, will it work or not. Maybe I can, little tweak it, try something else next time. And yeah, that is.
And as for why it works, it's kind of like watching a stream. You cannot really control the streamer when you're watching him, but you still are rooting for them because you want them to win, and when they fail, you get sad, and when they win, you get happy. That's kind of thing that goes on here.
It's like your little Tamagotchi.
Oh, I like that. It feels like Tamagotchi, actually. Like, or for me, God, it feels like there were these Digimon Tamagotchi. I don't know if you had Digimon in your or like in the 90s, or like there was these little toys you could carry around and go on walks with, and they would battle automatically. It's actually very similar to that.
Maybe.
Okay, so our next question is going to be, we can talk about the environment card. So if you're looking at the screen right now, on the lower left-hand corner, if you know Lupio, you know all this, but I'm explaining for the new folks. If you're on the lower left-hand corner of the screen, there are environment cards. Some of them you place on the side, as you can see, with all those rocks in the mountain. Other ones you place on the path that the hero walks on. These spawn more monsters and combine in ways to increase the difficulty for the little guy making the loop. How do you feel you've been able to encourage players to try and experiment with these cards, to try new things? Because when you put a card down, what you're essentially saying is, okay, I want more monsters, and I can see why someone might, like myself, for instance, I was like, I don't know why I would make it harder for myself. I don't know why I would make more monsters. And I sort of figured out why after a while, but I'm curious as developers, like, how did you make players want to try new cards and new experiments?
I guess it's just like the core the core idea of the game is that you have to balance between making it too easy and too hard. And again, you didn't have you didn't know why you should place more monsters on the road, but then you tried not doing that, and okay, that is not getting me closer to winning, so I will try to place monsters, and then you start to do it, because if you don't, you get bad loot from slimes, you cannot summon the boss, and if you do, it's very late loop and you die. So you have to, basically.
Yeah, it's also part of learning about game, because firstly you just walk around, and when you're just starting the game, you don't feel it's difficult, because hero just fight by his own, and it's not difficult. So okay, I will put this spiders, for example, and it's still not difficult. And player just starting to place any tiles chaotically, because it's not he don't understand how it affected his run for long distance. And then he dies, and he he realized that it's not working. Maybe I need to place little bit less monster, or maybe I need to try put other monster instead this one. And and it's only how it started. And it's process during whole game, like you just trying to tweak it for your best strategy for game, how it will be perfect balance for your hero. And then you just unlock new classes, and it's all not work for them, and you need started by a new cycle of this balancing stuff.
Just a fun anecdote I can share. So when I was playing, my partner is also playing this game, and she's a few hours ahead of me, and she's seen things I haven't seen yet. She walked over while I was playing, not this specific run, but like a run essentially that where I was playing like this, and she just screamed out loud, like, "Why have you put all that stuff together? Like, why have you made this so hard for yourself?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then we just started as soon as she said that, something like one of the it was I'd layered the graveyards on top of each other. And we had, it was like, oh, a vampire died, and then there was a ghost, and then there was a ghost of a ghost, and then the primal matter showed up, and she audibly screamed, like, "What the hell is that? Like, I haven't seen that." And I'm just like, I don't know, I push button, and Lupio will go burr if you get that. So that was a really fun, like our two different playstyles collided right away. And my more aggressive layering approach, which you can see right now, threw her off.
It's always funny to see how people play differently, and it's they all every people find out some own strategy, and it's always interesting to see how they will be set up their roles, which tiles they choose. It's really interesting how many variations of these people found.
Yeah, this isn't something we talked. This isn't in the questions I sent you guys before, but I kind of found as I was playing that one thing I experienced was after a while, like some cards just weren't fun for me, I guess. Like I might go, oh, okay, like I've had like the spiders, for instance, the spider card in my kit for a while, but now I've got some new things, and I'm making decisions about trading them out. And after a while, I was like, I know this thing gives me rewards, and there are specific rewards I can get out of this, but the swamp is actually a much better example. The swamp, I picked it up because I'm like, oh, I see what this does. This makes my healing damage, so I need to be careful with this. So I need to build a strategy that's less involved around healing. And this early in the game, I finally hit a point where I was like, oh, but healing's like fun and not. Like, it was kind of like, I was like, wow, this kind of sucks to be in the middle of a swamp and in a longer fight, and my health is just tanking. And I was just like, okay, well, I'll just turn off the swamp and try another environment. And I was surprised at just how it all worked out.
And you died at the swamp on the footage, right?
Oh yeah, I did die at a swamp. Yeah. We get to see my past mistakes here. WL Stride, WF Stride, has shown up in the chat. WF Stride, thank you so much for watching. WF Stride has a question for us, which is, where did you get the idea for this type of looping game mechanic? We kind of talked about where it came from before, so we don't want to totally retread that ground. But I will say, WF Stride wants to say, great game, by the way. So that's one person in chat who's already rooting for y'all. So I guess we can build on that question about where the looping came from, and more like, it kind of feels like a programming loop, doesn't it? Like, this game feels like, you know, like you set up a loop in, you know, when you're coding or whatever, an if then, and then the loop just kind of keeps running. Where did the idea evolve from? You know, you talked about having a hero you don't control, and doing that game jam, doing Ludum Dare, I think it was. When did you sort of have the idea to like have this kind of almost like a programming loop come into play?
It was just in the original idea that you build a road tile and you have to like live with it now because it will stay there and you will pass it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So you build something and then you will interact with this many times on the loop. So yeah, it was an original idea. It's not something which will come later here.
Cool, yeah.
So it's like the very basic part. It's like when did you get idea that in a shooter you shoot a gun?
Yeah, so Stride, if you didn't catch it, I totally recommend going back to the front of the top of the stream and seeing the full story they gave about the game's origin. We've also got another question from Video Space Games. They wanted to say they also love this game. They want to ask, was this game inspired by idle games at all?
It was, as I said before, we're just talking about idle games and about zero-player games, but it was not, you know, directly inspired by someone specific game.
Right.
Yeah, so it was like a conversation about genre itself, but pretty quick, Loop Hero is grown up from this genre, and now it's something different. But yeah, originally it was our thoughts about zero-player game genre.
Right. What do you think idle games do so well that, you know, like we talked about earlier, like there's sort of the notion that every game must be as interactive as possible and as... But I love idle games. I'm playing one on my phone right now that absolutely has like the deepest grind. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to name and shame. But it's just got this really deep grind, and I'm like, oh, this is very hard, but I don't do much, but I like this. Like, what do you guys think is so compelling about idle play?
If you talk about Loop Hero, it's not actually an idle game,
right?
Or, you know, like itself, but it's a little bit part of Loop Hero. It's idle game if we're talking about hero control, but you know, after you're playing some time, you understand you need to do a lot of action in this game, and it's depend on your attention for game. It's not really idle, but why idle games so addictive? I think people just like to, you know, see how number going increase infinity, and you just can little bit you know, rest while playing them. So maybe because
I think
maybe Finbal know more about idle games.
Yeah, it's just basically your brain gets happy when numbers go up, and in idle games you don't really have to work for it. You can just meditate and see numbers go up, and that's it.
Yeah,
so it's like a good rest.
I do think you guys have done a really good job adapting that, and even with more interactivity, like we're seeing, like almost every few seconds you can see me in this footage like moving around and clicking, and it's some of it is numbers going up, but like, you know, there's the neatness of making that mountain in the lower left-hand corner. There's laying out combos on the path. I really think you guys have done a good job adapting both that idle factor, even while you increase the interactivity. We're gonna go to our next question in chat from Ill-Made Coder. This is a long one, so just give me a second to read read all of it. Ill-Made Coder says that they were playing around with remaking this game as a side project. Is that a kosher thing to bring up in an interview? I don't know. That they're trying to remake your game, but hey, I guess you inspired them. They said they were playing around with the classes being within items rather than being something you choose. So instead, you would try to have to form a build for the class via the equipment slots. Was that something that was ever thought of in design, and do you think that would be tricky to pull off?
We actually were talking at some point about kind of system like that, but it's like it might be not promising anything, not saying it will, but there is a small chance that it will be implemented in the game. Kind of system like that is your equipment making you a little more of the class, but don't know. It was just one little talk, and that's it.
Blinch, is there anything you want to add?
Actually, no. We don't have any plans for it right now. We talked about some making class system more complex, but not something specific that we can announce right now. So
that's totally fair. I appreciate you guys saying that it was an idea so good you might do it yourselves.
We discussed something like that at some point, but not it's not in the game, as you can see. You just pick the class and that's it.
Right. Yeah. So my next question. Ill-Made Coder wants to say, by the way, they're just remaking the game for fun and to learn, not to try and compete. Ill-Made Coder, I can only say for myself, I admire you trying to retro-engineer this game, so I think that's super neat. My next question is going to be, were there any challenges when it came to like readability and having players understand what was going on? You've got this incredible pixel art aesthetic. I personally sometimes myself have trouble seeing exactly what is happening on screen. It hits harder in town. Like when if we get back to the town part of the game in a bit, I can describe it more accurately. But sometimes when I'm looking at, right now I can sort of clearly see, okay, those are the mountains, that's the grass. And I can pick out, the swamp, the field, the vampire mansion, the blood trees. There's no vampires out right now because I think I turned them off. The goblin camp. But, it's... you understand that after hours of play, things become more familiar. But I'm curious, when making this game, did you have any challenges about, making sure players understood what was going on just at a glance?
it's Deceiver is who draw all the styles, and sometimes he redraw few ones for more readability, and desert, for example, and rocks and mountain, as I remember too. Road as well. So yeah, it was some challenge for it, and maybe we still have few problems. Maybe we want to, for example, make something for you can notice your hero is more clearly on late loops when it's too many enemies and you can't see where your hero going. So yeah, we planning to improve it. So it was a lot of challenge, but yeah, as I say, it's Deceiver who artist and who made all the styles, and it's definitely need to ask him. So we just can't answer this for sure.
That's totally fair. I think you did a good job overall. Just I think as displays have gotten bigger, pixel art. Pixel art was made for smaller screens, smaller computing power, and sometimes as those two things have scaled up, I've just noticed that it sometimes creates, sometimes it's just as hard to read as mushy pixels in less good games from yesteryear. have been. Not this game necessarily, just pixel art as a broad art. Let's take kind of a programming tack. Obviously, as this game, as loops in this game get more and more elaborate and complex, the game is trying to, layer different systems and remember, okay, if there's a graveyard, then ghosts, are supposed to spawn, or enemies are supposed to become ghosts. If there's vampires, they get regen, and the stacking complexity gets very, it grows and it scales in complexity and it may, this is still early in the game, the footage we're looking at, but I'm sure as it goes on, it gets even more and more complex. Were there any challenges when it came to kind of making sure the game and the game's core structure could handle all that information coming in rapidly? Because sometimes when I've talked to game programmers, and they're working on less graphically complex games, obviously, when you have a game that has realistic lighting, when you have more realistic features, those are very complex to render. But then, strategy game developers have told me, like, man, like, when you are trying to, like, make sure your game can store and run all this complex information, like, that's actually its own challenge. That's less visible to players. Did anything like that come up in development?
Not really. I mean, storing like an array or a single variable, it's very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Like a computer from 2005 can handle it easily, and modern computers more than that. Like an enemy is just basically a number of variables, maybe like 100, but 100 variables still bytes or kilobytes of data, so it's not much. Maybe in strategies, like if it's a global strategy with 1,000 of units and they're in 3D and they have vectors and they have like 3D lighting with with like the, how do you call it, the line that goes from the thing.
Good race.
Yeah, then you will need more memory, but here no, it's very easy to store it all. And for the complexity, there were challenges because like there are only 2 programmers, and one day we are thinking what to do with there are 4 chapters in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can spoil it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't, but it's too late already. And we were thinking, okay, there are 4 chapters. How we make enemies more interesting? So some of them have skills. Maybe we just make that their skill can proc with more percentage with each chapter. So like spiders can throw a web with 5% at first chapter, 10% at second, and so on. But then we decided that no, we can add a new skill for each enemy each chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So there are like 100 of skills. There are more actually. Like and 2 guys had to code 100 skills, which was it was hard, and then turned out that some of the skills didn't work, some did break something, some messed with some other parts of the game, and we had to test it a lot, and people still found some skills really broken in certain circumstances, despite all the testing, because we just couldn't test everything.
Yeah.
And there were rare occasions in which the game just soft locked basically because one of the skills.
Without.
But we are working on it, honestly.
Without teaching the audience how to soft lock Loop Hero, is there a particular skill or skill interaction that surprised you? Either something you guys found while you were developing the game, or is there something?
Any type any type of this interaction. It was some skill combination or skill itself, or even I don't know. It was any type of this skill activity can broke the game, and we have really a lot of testing. Try to catch this one, not catch everyone. I mean, but yeah, still some we find out some skill broken and or not working as they must to. So yeah, it was pretty challenging part of the development.
Was there any skill interaction that was really funny that you didn't expect? Because I already think there's a lot of funny ones that are by design, but what are the unintentional ones, I think?
I can remember, for example, last one, but it's not really funny, and we have a lot of negative feedback because of it. Harpies in the game have ability. How many punches they get, then the armor is increased by every punch. Every hit, I mean, punches. So we have archer in tower of archers from your camp. So around your campfire, you have some additional support from them, and they strike pretty fast. So if you have 4 archers who strike with I don't remember, maybe 2 hit in second, this harpies getting citadel of armor pretty fast.
Yeah.
And you can kill them like no chances. And we have no couple.
Basically, you cannot damage them at all. Sometimes because they can have vampirism or regen too high, and like you deal 1 damage, then they heal 5. So it's just impossible to.
Yeah, and many people. No, it's maybe not many, but some people get the soft lock, and some of them was too angry and tried to, I don't know, shut out for us, because of this little bug. But we've already fixed it. And this sort of things sometimes appears, and you can't, predict if everything. For example, it's one of the latest enemy in the game. It's Siren, and they have ability to summon jellyfish on the battle. I'm not remember for sure, but it was some broken ability, and they summon not like infinity jellyfish on the battle map, and you can kill them. No, it was a combination of ability. They have a second ability about if water type of the enemy on the battle around them. They have more evasion percent, and its evasion percent was more than 100, and you can kill them. No chances too. But it was before release or demo, and we fix it.
Yeah, it's basically when you kill a jellyfish, like the siren counted the dead jellyfish's evasion also.
Yeah. So it was
like it added 20 evasion for each jellyfish that ever was on the battlefield. Although it should always have plus 20, and that's it. Even if there are like 4 jellyfishes at once, just plus 20. There also was a funny bug with the skeletons cracking. The skeletons can crack and not die immediately, and you have to fight the cracked skeleton. There was a bug in which a skeleton spawned a cracked skeleton every frame of the game, and there was an infinite amount of them.
Oh no.
So yeah, and you attack, and you have 100 damage numbers appearing each frame.
Oh god.
It was funny.
I love it when bugs in this game are combinations. This is something that already happens naturally, which is that the combinations of skills. Oh yeah, this is my first encounter with the boss. We get to see me die to the boss for the first time, to the Lich. I like how the combinations of skills create interesting thematic elements. You know, like when the vampires give everyone regen. That's a basic example. I already like that. I like it even more when the bugs, you know, create these thematic, like it's thematic and it's existentially horrifying to consider, you know, sirens that just have all the jellyfish and their corpses help them dodge forever.
I just sent my favorite bug from the development in the Discord. Maybe you can show it somehow.
Did you send it in chat? Did you type it?
Oh.
No, it's just a GIF in the Discord.
Oh, it's a GIF. Let me. Okay, we're gonna pop out. I'm gonna get it on screen. Okay, so I need to full screen this. Come on. Okay, so we're looking at. If you look at the lower left-hand corner of the screen right now. Oh my god! Oh my god! What happened? What am I looking at? I'm seeing. Oh no.
I forgot 2 breaks in code. Basically.
I'm gonna try and full screen this. Hang on. I want everyone to see this. Okay.
And every of them have own ghoul.
Okay, so we're popping this out.
Out of road.
We're gonna pop this out so that everyone gets a full screen view of this. This is incredible. So you've got 2 breaks in the code, and what exactly am I looking at here?
Well, I don't want to spoil the mechanic of a few cards. So just
you actually can. It's you know, game developer conference.
Yeah.
So
well, let's assume. Well, you know, we'll give a spoiler warning if you don't want to see the spoiler right now.
I just want to think about this GIF as an abstract art.
I do too. This is beautiful.
Yeah, so basically, you have a card called Labyrinth. It does nothing, absolutely. It just fills up the boss's what do you call it?
Matter.
Bar. The boss's bar, and I forgot to make that the additional labyrinths didn't spawn their own labyrinths. So you place 1, it spawns 15. Those 15 spawn even more, and so on, and they fill out the whole map. And I also forgot to make it so the card after labyrinth spawns ghouls, the monster ghouls, when they're installed. And I forgot the break there, so labyrinth is kind of asking the code, what should I do when I'm installed, when I'm placed on a map, and it says, well, do this, and then there is no break, so it goes to the next line, and it says spawn ghoul. So yeah, that's it.
That's incredible. I just keep staring at it because just like Loop Hero, this loop of this GIF is just it's hypnotizing.
Hey, it's my favorite.
Oh my god, thank you so much for sharing this with us. You know, it's games. You know, when you're selling games need to look as perfect and polished as possible, and showing their rough messiness is sometimes risky.
Actually, we posted in Twitter. So.
Oh yeah, well there you go. Hey, buy our game. It once broke like this. This is art. It's like you said. I agree with you. This is fine art. I'm gonna shrink it and send it back. But if you too want to stare at this forever on Twitter, you should absolutely go to their Twitter account and just watch it stream over and again. If you just give me a second, I'm just going to resize the window here. That was beautiful. That was one of the best things that's ever happened on this Twitch channel, is getting to put a bug like that at full screen. To look at chat, there's some WF Stride that was a bug from before released, so it's not real. You can't encounter it. I just want to make that clear. The bug that we just got to stare at over and over again will not happen to you. Probably. I'm going to put a disclaimer in there just in case those line breaks showed up again somewhere else. Okay. Looks like NPKNT's question has been answered. You can download Loop Hero on Steam if you want to check it out. It's not on GOG or anything. It's not on any other stores, is it?
I think it's also on GOG and the Epic Store.
Right. Yeah. Loop Hero is also available on the Epic Store and GOG if you want to check it out. I'm going to ask a couple more questions here for my part. We might need to cut out early here because of something that's popped up at my end. Okay, so I want to ask a question. This is one of my one of my favorite things in the game. This is when I realized, like, oh, there's something special here. Like, just because there's a system where in the game, you can see it right now. When mountains and meadows are placed, those boost the player's health. And I think that is so cool and so interesting because it doesn't make a lick of fucking sense to me. Like, it does not. There's the narrative of the game establishes that there's, like a link between, the objects of the world and the hero's conception of the world, and so when more of the world is back, there is a thematic link. But broadly, the idea of, oh, I placed a mountain down, I have more health now. I can't link it in my head, but the fact that this game made me totally accept that logic, I think that's what something games are brilliant at, is like helping players take abstract ideas and internalize them. Where did that idea come from? Like, where did that system come from, and how did it sort of evolve to, then it scales upward, obviously, because when mountains combine together, you get the big mountain that spawns the harpies. Where did that end of the system come from to make those meadow and mountain placement integral to the player's health?
In beginning, we don't have, we only have 3 types of the tiles. One of them is on the road, then we'll just like, okay, let them spawn enemies, or maybe get you some resources when you walk in. Second type is by the road, like Lantern or time crystals or vampires. We decide, okay, they can also spawn enemy, but maybe they will add some additional effects. And free type, it's out the road. So we just thinking, if they will spawn many enemies too, this will be too chaotic for control it, so it's not working. Okay, what they also can do, maybe they can do some bigger additional effect with bigger areas, like lightning temple or beacon. But then we thinking about hero has attributes, and maybe they will affect of them, because in our game you don't have too many attributes and variation of interaction is how hero can getting stronger or something like that. So yeah, that's where it's come from. So it was like pretty natural decision in the beginning of development.
Gotcha. We're gonna
and as for how they conflict the narrative, it's actually vice versa. Its narrative doesn't explain the mountains, because at first the game was completely mechanical. It didn't have any narrative at all, and the narrative is here to explain the mechanics. And so the mountain gives you health, because we had to come up with something that mountains do, and we thought, okay, you can pick a mountain and make like a build that is reliant on your health. So yeah, that's what mountains are for.
But then for the lore, so you already have this maximum HP, but when your hero creating something that beautiful as that mountain, he will so happy and uncover his power or something.
Yeah, it's basically mountains inspire your hero to be healthy.
They're really beautiful.
Maybe it's like an alpine air that gives you more health.
Yeah, and he was life longer for just looking at them as long as possible.
Look, I'll just say that I relate. I live in Los Angeles, California. I am surrounded by mountains, and on a clear day when I can go see those mountains, I do feel better. I think you're onto something here.
It's work. It's work.
Yeah,
it's realistic.
I mean, also that I thought I was pointing to. Anyway, yeah, you know what? Okay, so there's a question in chat I want to get to before we sign off. I'll get to that question from Steeks. If you also want to throw in a question in chat, you can totally do that. There's one more question from my end that I wanted to ask. It's lore related. I didn't want to spend too much time on lore and story today because I sort of think people should just play this game and check it out for themselves. This is another thing that made me go, oh my god, this game is something special. This game is a fantasy game. There are some conventional fantasy elements, and fantasy enemies, slime, skeletons, monsters, vampires, name it, pick it. And there's a lot of dialogue that goes into, like, all of these things are lost or in the void, and you're bringing back the world by summoning them. The first dialogue that you encounter with the vampires, which we're not seeing here because I've already by this point seen the vampires so many times. The hero and the vampire have an interaction where the hero says, "Oh, vampires were landowners. They were nobles who saw to the land. They weren't, they weren't just monsters. And I thought, oh my god, that's so cool that, like, they're monsters, but they have a role in the world. And the harpies also have some dialogue like that, like, there was a society and vampire, and this little bit of something, like, made me care more about the vampires than if they had just shown up in, if like, you could have totally presented to me, I would have been hooked by the mechanics and the loop, but that one little line, like, it just made me conceptualize something different about these vampires, even though it sort of barely matters the rest of the game. Blinch, I think that was more your role. You did more of the writing. What was your thoughts behind that? Like, where did that come from in your, when did you sort of go, hey, we want players to, like, care a little bit more about these monsters than just making them things to kill?
Yeah, for first, main writer was Deceiver, and that brilliant dialogue is it's his work. Vivi Spindle make little writing for Encyclopedia. You can find some few more story about vampires by my by my writing too. But so originally in Loop Hero, your goal not to kill all monster or revenge to some villain or something. You basically try to rebuild this world, try to remember it. So it was it would be pretty strange if your hero try to his goal was kill all monster, because you put this monster all his way by your own, so it's a little bit dissonance about it. So its focus on the story was at rebuilding, and we try to make some make more sense why hero must to kill all this creature. Just not because they evil, maybe not all of them evil, but just because they have no other choice, and they have some how to say right, some their own goals for its conflict with what hero try to reach.
Yeah. We're gonna get one more. We're gonna get this last question here before we go. If our audience here has any more questions for the Four Quarters team, where should they ask them? Where should they send you all? Like, and where should they ask if they want to learn more about the making of Loop Hero? You could also just say nowhere. Don't have questions. Live in ignorance. We made you this game. Stop talking to us. Let us take a rest and let us fix the game and make it better. You can also. That's a totally valid answer.
If it's an option.
It's an option. We're gonna let it go. You know what? You have questions. You can only ask them here. You can only ask them to me. These guys are doing us a wonderful service by making Loop Hero. Don't go bug them with your questions. Let them make the game. But that said, Steeks, I love you for asking the question you have brought, because it's a great question and it's the one I want to ask on. But for my part, I will just say, if you want to learn more about Loop Hero, they do have a Twitter account. Four Quarters does have a Twitter account. You can go look that up. I would suggest doing it. And Devolver Digital is obviously the publisher, and you can check out their feed if you want more info on where you can buy it. Is it going to be on sale? I don't know. It's on Steam. There's going to be a Steam sale for it. Those will pop up. So we're gonna end on Steeks' question. Did the Loop Hero team ever do any experimenting with a more pure roguelike version of Loop Hero, one with less persistence and more permadeath, or was it always designed with upgrades and persistence in mind?
At first, there was no upgrades. It was completely permanent. Again, we made it on Ludum Dare, which in which the team was start with nothing, and that was it. You start with nothing, and then you go kill some slimes, get some cards, some items, then you build some more cards, and the goal was just to get a higher loop, and that's it. And then again, we didn't plan on making it the full game right away. If the formula didn't work, if like it was boring, then okay, we made the game, we spent 2 weeks, let's go back to something else. But when we saw that, yeah, okay, people like it, it actually can be interesting, we thought, what can we do? And Deceiver said, yeah, okay, I have an idea that will turn this like half-hour game into a 1,000-hour game. Let's add a camp, which you can upgrade, and you get resources from the expeditions. So here's your incentive to like live longer and make more loops. So yeah, originally the game was completely without any progression.
Yeah, but then we don't want to permadeath or something like that, because we try to push player for experiment with your card deck, with your building on the camp, with your some various builds for your hero. And you know, if you try something new in Loop Hero, you're not lost anything. You just will take get new experience, take few resources in any way, even if it will fail. So you're not lost nothing. So yeah, we not try to make permadeath or something.
Gotcha. Well, with that, we're going to wrap things up for today. Blinch, Finlal, thank you so much for joining me. This has been Loop Hero. This game is great. For our part, we are the GDC Twitch channel. We're also just GDC. If you want to know more about this year's Game Developers Conference, it's going to be in July. It's going to be all digital. If you checked out GDC Showcase last week, you got to see how we do digital events. We also did this for GDC Summer last year. And so you're going to be able to register and watch talks and network all online this summer from all over the world. We're so excited for it. We're so excited to have developers talk to you about making their games, just like we have today with the Loop Hero developers. So I hope you join us. You know, there's going to be something for everyone, for narrative folks, artists, coders, producers. It's all there. That's what Game Developers Conference is, and that's what we love bringing you. Blinch, Finlal, thank you so much again, and we're going to wrap, and we're just going to go on home. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.